the warnings ignored. The Galactic Council chamber was vast, a testament to the hundreds of species that had come together to form a fragile, uneasy peace. Holographic displays floated above the long circular table, projecting star maps and reports from the latest border skirmishes. Today's discussion, however, was not about war between two long-standing rivals. It was about humans. Ambassador Calix of the Vortani Empire leaned forward, his clawed fingers tapping against the sleek surface of the table. His reptilian eyes gleamed with amusement as he looked toward the human delegation. "You are a strange species," Calix hissed. "Always so polite, always so restrained. You say you value peace, yet you arm yourselves. You warn us not to provoke you, yet you avoid conflict. What exactly do you think will happen if we press further?" Ambassador Elaine Carter remained composed. She was a woman of experience, having negotiated peace treaties between civilizations that saw diplomacy as a weakness. Yet, standing before the gathered leaders of the galaxy, she knew that this was different. The Vortani weren't interested in diplomacy. They were predators testing their prey. Elaine took a slow breath. "Ambassador Calix," she said, her voice even, "humanity does not seek war. We do not wish for conflict. But I ask you again, as we have many times before, please do not make us angry." Laughter echoed across the chamber, not just from the Vortani, but from several other species who had come to see humanity as an anomaly. A race with limited territory, a race with weaker technology, a race that warned rather than threatened. Calix smirked. "You make it sound as if you hold power over us, Ambassador. As if your warnings carry weight." He stood, his scaled armor catching the light. "I will not dance around the truth. The Vortani Empire has taken the human colony on Alara 7. As we speak, our forces secure the planet. We have taken your people as hostages. If you wish to negotiate for their release, you may do so, but you will do so from a position of submission." Elaine clenched her fists under the table. She had expected this. She turned to the council, searching for some sign of support. The Galactic Union had laws against aggressive expansion, yet no one spoke against the Vortani. They would not act. They never did. A deep, weary sigh escaped her lips. She placed both hands on the table and met Calix's gaze. "We do not want war," she said again. "But this is a mistake." The Vortani ambassador grinned, exposing rows of jagged teeth. "Then correct it, human. Earth, United Terran Military Command." The war room was silent, save for the quiet hum of holographic displays updating real-time casualty reports. Generals, admirals, and intelligence officers sat in grim contemplation as the footage from Alara 7 played on a loop. A burning city, human civilians forced into holding camps, Vortani war banners raised above once thriving settlements. At the head of the table, General Marcus Hale watched the screen with an expression carved from stone. He had fought in the Outer Rim Wars, seen firsthand what happened when humanity was underestimated. Now, history threatened to repeat itself. Admiral Roth broke the silence. "The Council won't intervene. They never do. We knew they wouldn't," Marcus said. His voice was cold, controlled. "And if the Vortani think that means we won't either." Across the room, Intelligence Officer Sarah Connors exhaled sharply. "They executed unarmed civilians, General. They broadcasted it across the networks. This isn't just provocation. It's a challenge." Marcus nodded. He pressed a button on the table, and the room dimmed as a new display lit up. Tactical movements, stealth fleet deployments, coordinated strike patterns. Operation Fury Unleashed. It had been prepared for this exact scenario. He looked around the table, meeting the eyes of his commanders. "Diplomacy is over. We've given them every warning. Now, we make sure they understand what it means when humanity truly gets angry." Silence. Then, one by one, the officers nodded. The order was given. A fatal miscalculation. On Alara 7, Commander Vec of the Vortani Occupation Forces stood in the command center, watching his troops patrol the conquered city. Humans had offered no resistance during the initial attack, and their military had yet to respond. "Weak." He turned to his second-in-command. "See? I told you. These creatures may act proud, but in the end, they bow like all the rest. The officer hesitated. Sir, I'm not so sure. Vex scoffed. They will send negotiators, they will plead, and they will bargain. They lack the will for real conflict. A sharp beeping sound interrupted him. The hollow screen flickered to life, showing a fleet entering Ilera 7's orbit. But it wasn't just any fleet. The ships were dark. No broadcasting signals. No transmissions. The usual diplomatic chatter was gone. No threats. No warnings. And then, one simple message, sent across every Vortani channel in human space. You were warned. The room grew deathly silent. Outside, in the night sky above Ilera 7, the first human warships opened fire. The sky burns. Ilera 7, Vortani Command Center. Commander Vex stood frozen as the message echoed across the command center. You were warned. No threats. No ultimatums. Just cold, final certainty. A junior officer's voice cut through the stunned silence. Sir, multiple human warships have entered the atmosphere. His scaled fingers trembled over the controls. They're not broadcasting identification codes. They're completely silent. Vex's throat tightened. What do you mean, silent? The officer's eyes darted back to the hollow display, where human ships moved in perfect, methodical formation. No transmissions, no demands, nothing. They aren't acting like diplomats, sir. His voice was almost a whisper. They're acting like executioners. The Vortani commander swallowed hard. Deploy planetary defenses. Now, red warning lights flared across the command center as alarms screamed through the city. Anti-aircraft turrets spun toward the sky. Missile platforms locked on, and Vortani fighters scrambled from their landing bays. The war had begun. Orbital assault. The wrath of humanity. From the bridge of the UNS Retribution, Admiral Roth watched as the first volley of railgun rounds tore through the atmosphere, striking key Vortani command posts. The sheer force of impact reduced fortified structures to molten slag. No speeches, no warnings, no hesitation. Begin the ground assault, Roth ordered. Dropships, sleek and black as the void, plummeted from orbit. Each carried elite Terran strike teams, silent, disciplined, and unyielding. In one of those dropships, Captain Elias Graves checked his rifle, feeling the hum of the ship's engines vibrate through his armor. Around him, his team was silent, not out of fear, but because there was nothing left to say. The Vortani had murdered civilians. They had ignored every warning. Now they would learn. The pilot's voice crackled through his comms. ETA, 30 seconds. Hot drop. Expect immediate resistance. Elias took a slow breath. They think we're weak. Let's show them what weak really looks like. The doors of the dropship hissed open, and the Terran Marines leapt into the burning city below. The Vortani's last stand. Commander Vec watched in horror as the humans descended like wraiths from the sky. Their armor absorbed plasma fire. Their weapons cut down Vortani forces with ruthless precision. His officers panicked. Their defenses are too strong. They're moving too fast. This isn't how humans fight. Vec had studied human warfare. He knew their history, how they fought among themselves for centuries before uniting under a single banner. He had assumed they had become civilized, that their diplomacy had made them soft. But what stood before him now was something else. The humans weren't fighting for conquest. They weren't fighting for power. They were fighting with purpose. And that made them terrifying. A message from High Command flashed across his terminal. Reinforcements unavailable. You are ordered to hold the city. Hold the city? Vec's hands curled into fists. His warriors were being torn apart. His defenses crumbled like sand under a tidal wave. The realization settled in his gut like a stone. We never should have provoked them. A reckoning at dawn. By sunrise, the city of Ilera 7 was silent. Fires burned where Vortani fortifications once stood. The streets were littered with the bodies of fallen soldiers. The human forces had left no room for escape. No mercy. Commander Vec was among the last survivors. He was on his knees, his armor cracked and bloody, his claws gripping the dirt beneath him. Before him stood Captain Elias Graves, his rifle lowered, his expression unreadable behind his visor. "You?" Vec choked out. "You're monsters." Graves stared down at him. "No, you made this happen." A long silence passed between them. Vec's breath was ragged. "The Galactic Council, they will not stand for this." Graves knelt, his voice calm and steady. "You don't get it, do you?" He leaned in, his next words cold as death. "We don't care." The final shot rang out. The war was over. The lesson had been taught. And the universe had learned too late why humans had warned them. The weight of vengeance. Aftermath of fire. The city of Alara, 7 lay in ruin. Smoke curled into the sky, and the scent of scorched metal and charred flesh hung thick in the air. The once proud capital of the Vortani was little more than a graveyard now. Captain Elias Graves stood atop the shattered remains of the Vortani command tower, looking down at the battlefield below. His helmet hung at his side, his face unreadable. His rifle, still warm from battle, remained gripped tightly in his hand. Behind him, Lieutenant Carter approached, stepping carefully over the rubble. All primary objectives secured. Resistance has been neutralized. Survivors are being gathered. Graves exhaled slowly. Survivors? Carter hesitated. The ones who surrendered. Most of their military leadership is dead. What do you want to do with them? Graves turned his gaze toward the broken streets, where human soldiers moved methodically, ensuring no threats remained. The Vortani who still lived were huddled together, stripped of their weapons, some wounded, others trembling in silence. He knew the orders. No one wanted unnecessary executions. Humanity wasn't here to wipe out an entire species. They were here to teach a lesson. But the Vortani had ignored every warning. They had slaughtered human civilians. They had provoked something they didn't understand. Graves took a breath. Process them. Medical aid for those who need it. But make sure they understand this was their fault. Carter nodded and relayed the command. As the lieutenant walked away, Graves turned to see Admiral Roth approaching, flanked by a squad of heavily armed guards. Unlike the ground forces, Roth had remained aboard the UNS Retribution, directing the operation from orbit. But now that the battle was over, he had come to see the aftermath himself. Roth stopped beside Graves, surveying the ruins. "Efficient work, Captain." Graves didn't respond. He could feel the weight of it all. The devastation, the lives lost, the cold justice delivered. "Do you regret it?" Roth asked after a moment. Graves glanced at him. "Regret?" He scoffed. "No, I regret that we had to be here in the first place." Roth studied him. "And yet, here we are." Graves nodded. "Here we are." The Galactic Council responds. Far from the ruins of Alara 7, the Galactic Council sat in emergency session. Delegates from dozens of species filled the vast chamber, their voices raised in panic, in anger, in fear. The destruction of the Vortani stronghold had sent shockwaves through the known universe. At the center of it all, High Chancellor Cyril, an elder of the Zethari race, listened in silence as the council debated. "This was an atrocity," shouted a representative of the Threnval Empire. "Humanity has crossed a line." "Crossed a line," another voice countered. "The Vortani provoked them. They murdered civilians. They should have sought diplomatic solutions, like the ones the Vortani ignored." The chamber erupted into further chaos, voices clashing, accusations flying. Some called for sanctions, others for war. Cyril closed his eyes. He had seen it coming. Humanity had warned them. Again and again, they had made it clear. "Please don't make us angry." Now, the universe had learned why. At last, Cyril raised a hand, silencing the chamber. "Enough." The room fell quiet. "We cannot change what has happened, but we must decide what comes next." A grim hush settled over the council. The reality was undeniable. Humanity had shown its hand. And now, every species had to decide whether to stand against them or ensure they never became the next lesson. A warning to the stars. Back on Alara 7, the human fleet prepared to depart. The war was over. The message had been sent. Graves stood at the landing bay of his dropship, watching as the last of his troops boarded. The city was still smoldering, but the battle had long since ended. Admiral Roth approached one final time. "The council is in session." No official statement yet, but the galaxy is afraid. Graves gave a humorless chuckle. Good. Roth studied him. What happens next will define humanity's future. Whether we're feared, respected, or hated, it all starts here. Graves met his gaze. They started this war thinking we were weak. Let them remember how it ended. Roth nodded, then turned toward his shuttle. As Graves stepped onto his own, he glanced back one last time at the ruined city. Then, without another word, he boarded, and the doors sealed behind him. Humanity had given its warning. Now, the stars had to decide how to respond. The reckoning. A fractured council. The Galactic Council Chamber, once a place of order and measured diplomacy, had devolved into chaos. Representatives from dozens of species shouted over one another, their voices carrying through the vast hall. Some called for retaliation. Others demanded immediate peace talks. A few, the most cautious, suggested complete non-interference with humanity going forward. At the center of it all sat High Chancellor Cyril, motionless, hands clasped before him. His zethery features betrayed no emotion, but his mind churned with the weight of history being written. The humans must be stopped before they become unstoppable, a representative of the Threnval Empire bellowed. They did nothing we haven't done 100 times over, countered the Salvani delegate. We all saw what the Vertani did. The humans acted in retribution. The scale of their response was unprecedented. No civilization should hold that kind of power unchecked. Cyril slowly raised a hand. Silence fell. The reality is this, he said, his voice even. The humans warned us. Warn everyone. They asked to be left alone. They asked for peace. And we dismissed them as weak for it. He surveyed the chamber. Now, we see what their anger truly looks like. Do you wish to test it further? The room was silent. The truth was clear to all. Humanity had drawn a line in blood and fire. There was no undoing what had been done. The question remained, was the Galactic Council wise enough to leave them alone? A soldier's reflection. Aboard the UNS Retribution, Captain Elias Graves stood alone in his quarters, staring out into the vastness of space. The ship had left the ruins of Alara, 7 behind, but he couldn't escape the memories of what had been done. The mission was a success. Humanity had proven its strength. The galaxy was afraid of them now. So why did it feel so hollow? A chime at his door broke his thoughts. Enter, he said. Lieutenant Carter stepped inside, his posture more relaxed than usual. Sir, just got word from Earth. The brass is pleased with the outcome. They think we've secured peace. Graves exhaled slowly. Peace through fear, maybe. Carter hesitated. Is that a problem? Graves turned from the window, facing his lieutenant. You ever wonder if we lost something back there? Carter frowned. Sir. Graves shook his head. Forget it. He grabbed his sidearm from the table and holstered it. What's the status on the fleet? Final preparations for departure are underway. We'll be heading back to Earth within the hour. Graves nodded. Good. The sooner we're home, the better. Carter hesitated. And if the council retaliates? Graves smirked, but there was no humor in it. Then we remind them why they shouldn't have made us angry in the first place. Ripples through the stars. Across the galaxy, the aftermath of humanity's wrath spread like wildfire. On planets where humans were once ignored or belittled, now they were feared. Treaties were reconsidered. Diplomats found their words suddenly carried weight. Trade agreements tilted in humanity's favor. In the shadows, whispers grew. Some species, those who had long lived under the tyranny of the so-called great powers, saw hope in humanity's actions. If the humans could stand against the council, perhaps others could too. But others saw only danger. Armies were mobilized. Spies were sent to uncover the true limits of human strength. Some saw Earth not as an ally, but as a threat that had to be eliminated before it was too late. War had been avoided for now, but the galaxy was shifting. Humanity was no longer seen as harmless, and nothing would ever be the same again. Final warning. Back on Earth, within the highest chambers of human command, the leaders of the United Terran Directorate gathered. The broadcast had been prepared. It will be transmitted across every known galactic channel. A single message, a warning, a reminder. As the cameras rolled, a familiar face appeared. Admiral Roth, his expression calm yet firm. His voice carried across the stars. To the civilizations of the Galactic Council, humanity has always desired peace. We extended our hand in friendship. We asked only for respect. And when we were attacked, we defended ourselves. He leaned forward, his tone unwavering. This is your only warning. If you threaten us again, if you come for our worlds, our people, then know this. The fury you witnessed on Alara 7 was only a fraction of what we are capable of. He let the silence linger before finishing. Please, don't make us angry again. The transmission ended, and across the galaxy, civilizations held their breath.